Vaccination is the most cost efficient and the most powerful medical intervention in control, prevention, and eradication of many diseases that affect human population. Capsular polysaccharide based vaccines have been in use for many decades, providing immunity against various bacterial infections. Vaccines are agents that stimulate antibodies or immune cells to fight disease. They have generally been made from weakened or killed pathogens or from immunogenic proteins, glycoproteins, or polysaccharides obtained from microorganisms. To understand how vaccines function, we need to know how the immune system defends us from contagious diseases. When foreign microorganisms invade us, our immune system makes an attempt to identify them and remove them from our bodies. But there's a new way of making vaccines. Novel chemical and enzymatic oligosaccharide synthesis techniques could lead to a new generation of carbohydrate based vaccine agents. These carbohydrate based agents, glycoproteins, and polysaccharides, can be difficult to isolate from their natural sources, though, and their natural isolates can have heterogeneity and contamination problems. Although in the past few years, as researchers have developed novel chemical and enzymatic techniques for constructing oligosaccharides more easily and conveniently. These synthetic techniques are making it possible to envision a new generation of carbohydrate based vaccines. Indeed, the first commercial vaccine made from a synthetic carbohydrate was approved last November in Cuba and now is part of the country's national vaccination program. Synthetic carbohydrate vaccines have a couple of potential advantages over those based on carbohydrates from natural sources. Naturally derived carbohydrates are heterogeneous mixtures and may include small amounts of natural impurities and contaminants. In contrast, synthetic carbohydrate can be produced as a homogeneous single compounds in a controlled manner with little or no batch to batch variability. Some researchers also point out that carbohydrates are cheaper to produce synthetically, and this can help bring down the price of vaccines, which are often needed most by people in developing countries who cannot afford expensive medications. Recently developed carbohydrate synthesis techniques are making it possible to create novel immunogenic carbohydrates in sufficient quantities and pure form, says chemistry professor Peter H. Seeberger of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology. There's more and more success in using these methods to make defined carbohydrate antigens. Biotech companies are now leveraging such synthetic techniques for the creation of new candidate vaccines. For example, Optimer Pharmaceuticals in San Diego has been using a programmable one-pot solution phase synthetic technique developed by Scripps Research Institute chemistry professor Chiwei Wang and co-workers, which the company called OPOPes, to create testable amounts of carbohydrate cancer antigens identified by Danfikensky's group. And now here is the list of some of the most important carbohydrate vaccines that have been made in the last few years. The first vaccine is called Haemophilus influenza type B. This vaccine prevents Haemophilus influenza type B, that is a bacterium that causes pneumonia and meningitis primarily in infants and young children. This has become a commercial vaccine, and carbohydrate based agents also have permitted higher quality control standards compared to the use of naturally derived agents. Also, researchers are researching of cancer. Cancer is another major disease in the sights of synthetic carbohydrate researchers. Researchers have identified and synthesized a carbohydrate called GloboH that acts as an antigen on some human breast cancer. Researchers attempt to develop all sorts of AIDS vaccines, but so far they have been unsuccessful. But work continues, and carbohydrate based vaccines are part of such efforts. Also, scientists are making a malaria vaccine based on a synthesized carbohydrate antigen, which is currently in active development. Each year, hundreds of millions of people worldwide catch malaria symptoms, of which include chills, fever, sweating, anemia, adverse brain and kidney effects, and sometimes even death. In conclusion, vaccines are important because they don't they not only reduce the risk of a disease for an individual, but for a community as well. Vaccines stimulate someone's immune system to produce the antibodies to fight a disease, and when vaccination rates are high enough, a disease can find a host and will basically die out. If vaccination rates drop below a certain level, then it is easier for a disease to enter a community.